making cars moves us. What moves you?
Guam National Guard Rear Detachment Officer in Charge Major Chris Camacho says after leaving Guam in early March, the nearly 600 soldiers of the 1st Battalion, 294th Infantry Regiment have spent the last few weeks training for their deployment to Afghanistan at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. Governor Eddie Calvo and Adjutant General Benny Paulino also visited the soldiers earlier this month to support them. Camacho has now confirmed to PNC that the soldiers have made their way to Afghanistan since last week.
Soldiers like to read about positive messages. Other family members, community members like to read about positive messages. And if there's anything that I've learned over my experiences is, bad news just gets worse with time. But when it comes to good news, that's something that will last for a lot longer.
He mentions the unit is anticipated to be in transit and on the move to combat outposts and forward operating bases probably until next week. Camacho also says the soldiers are spread out and have multiple stops, security checks, and tasks before reaching their final destinations.
We call it joint reception, staging, and honor integration. So there's a series of checks, checking the soldier, checking their equipment, checking their manifests, personal data information, just to make sure that those names and locations are accurate.
Congresswoman Madeline Berdalio was also able to meet with some of the deployed soldiers in Afghanistan. She brought them Donit Dinancy and Pugat from home and said they were in good spirits. And depending on their availability, Camacho notes the soldiers will still be able to communicate with the Guard units here, as well as their loved ones.
Between last week, this week, and I would be willing to bet next week, the realistic expectation for families and the community is you will hear from soldiers, but it'll be intermittent communications.
He adds social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter are good outlets for soldiers and their loved ones. He asks families to continue to post positive thoughts and messages because it will help keep their morale up.
Soldiers like to read about positive messages. Other family members, community members like to read about positive messages. And if there's anything that I've learned over my experiences is, bad news just gets worse with time. But when it comes to good news, that's something that will last for a lot longer.
Meanwhile, the Guam Guard has announced 2 more upcoming deployments. 4 soldiers from the 1990th Contingency Contracting Team will leave the island in July for mobilization training in Hawaii before they deploy to Afghanistan. Also, about 30 airmen from the 254th Security Forces Squadron are scheduled to mobilize and depart in August. Both units have been activated in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Josh Tikenko, PNC News.